Chào mừng cả nhà đã đến với vlog của Giúp Học Thành Công. Hôm nay anh và cháu sẽ thay đổi chủ đề một chút và sẽ nói về những điều mà đang xảy ra ở bên Mỹ ngay bây giờ. Chắc là các em đã biết về Black Lives Matter rồi. Và hôm nay anh muốn nói một chút về những bức tường đang heo đỏ ở những thành phố ở bên Mỹ. The reason I want to talk about this on this channel is it's related to a lot of the work I do as a university professor in the United States. I used to be a university professor teaching analytical writing. The subject of these statues coming down in the United States is a very good subject matter to both learn about an important cultural moment in the United States and also to learn about the process of analytical writing. And today we're going to practice making claims about this subject matter. You can't make a claim until you gather evidence, and you can't gather evidence until you sort of brainstorm out what you know, what you think you know, and what you need to research. The biggest problem I have with so many of my students when they want to make a claim, especially when they want to make a claim about a controversial topic like this, is they're like, oh, I know what I think. I want to make one right away. I think this is bad, or I think this is good. And they start with the claim, and then they start doing research after that. But the problem is when you start with a claim, when you start with an opinion, you're only going to do research that informs what you already think. So it's important to start with an open mind, do your research, and let the research inform the claim that you're making. Once you do that, you have to research three things. What's actually happening? What are the arguments against it, and how are they using evidence? And what are the arguments for it, and how are they using evidence? Once you have all that together, you can start to make a claim. If you were assigned in your college writing class to write an essay about this, what would your first step of research be?
Mình đã có cái vấn đề là bức tượng rồi đúng không? Thì phải làm rõ là bức tượng là về ai, cái người mà được dựng thành tượng đó thì họ đã làm gì trong cái lịch sử để mà họ được dựng tượng như vậy.
That's great. That's completely right. So I said the one problem I have with my students is they always want to have an opinion first. They want to start with the claim and then do their research. That's the first mistake. The second mistake is that students always want to sound a little important. They want to make a big important claim and they want to talk about everything. They want to be very general. But the way you make a claim strong is you make it specific. Look at one specific thing. Find an example of one statue that got pulled down. That way you can just research that one character. Who was that? What did they do with their life? And then from that, you can make a compelling claim that can then be applied to the general. But you start always with details.
Thì họ có nên take down the statues hay không?
In the history of America and in the history of the human race, there have been very few things that are as evil as slavery. And a statue is about celebrating something. When you put a statue up in a public square of someone who dedicated their lives to defending slavery, what you're doing is you're telling everyone who sees that statue, this man was still a moral person. There's something worth celebrating about this person. Centuries of slavery in the United States, before it was a colony and then after, inform a lot of the problems that the United States has with race today. And the United States is still recovering from that original sin of slavery. And so even though slavery is over, we're only a few decades out of the end of legal segregation in the United States, and we're still trying to overcome a lot of those problems. So even though the practice is over, that still doesn't mean it's okay to celebrate the people who upheld that practice.
What about the other side? If you remove the statues from the public space, it means that you abandon your history.
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. So now we're getting to the point in the research, but now it's important to look at the arguments on the other side. And it's important to use those arguments to make our claim stronger. So you're going into the way the other argument functions. The other argument says, well, to remove the statues is to remove history. But that's not true. The history can't be removed. Whatever happens, that terrible history did occur. But also, it's a question of asking, what does a statue do? What's the function of a statue? What's the function of a monument? These are to celebrate things. Just by taking those down does not mean we don't acknowledge the history. In fact, there's other things about that time we could celebrate. There are figures who fought to liberate slaves. There's Harriet Tubman, who risked her life over and over and over again to bring slaves out of the Confederacy and into freedom. So there are parts of that story that are worth honoring, absolutely. It's just a question of looking really with clear eyes at what is a statue? What is a memorial? It's about honoring something. And so we can choose not to honor it, but also not forget it and still study the history. That's a way that we can make our claim stronger. And I think it's also very important, like you just did, like we've been doing in this demonstration, even when you have really strong feelings about a subject, like this subject là các anh đã cho các em biết rất là tháng rồi là anh có strong feelings rồi.
Yeah.
But the way to make a strong argument is not just to rely on your own feelings. You need to look at all the evidence, and you need to look at the arguments that other people are saying, and you need to acknowledge them. If you don't acknowledge the argument on the other side to make your claim more specific, if your claim does not respond to that, then you're not going to persuade anybody, because the opposition or even people who are undecided do not feel like you're taking a balanced approach and do not feel like they're being listened to. So that's it for the little mini lesson on claims. All this month, I'm going to be teaching classes at the U.S. Embassy on persuasive writing, on getting noticed. That can be applied to essay writing, it can be applied to advertising. So if you would like to attend one of these classes, either in person or live, there's going to be a link in the bottom.
Nếu như các bạn có bất kỳ những cái vấn đề nào mà các bạn đang quan tâm ở Mỹ hoặc là đơn giản là ở Việt Nam cũng được, chúng mình sẽ lọc ra những cái comment phù hợp và mình và Alex có thể là brainstorm và làm những cái vlog tương tự để chia sẻ với các bạn những tips để du học thành công.
Bye bye.
Bye.